How about how about like overall cultural values? Like, is there something you want to be really drastically different from a cultural aspect than what you would assume of that place or period?
I don't know if it applies to what we plan, but considering the situation we're in, I was maybe thinking about how we could maybe... Let me rephrase that. I want to maybe introduce the Byzantine Empire's concept of of how a war should be fought.
And that is how?
Defensively. They very much, despite the fact that they obviously did it a couple of times, they did not believe in the concept of a holy war. They did not believe in the concept of a war of aggression. They believed that they should fight to defend what was their land, and if they did have to spill over into fighting on the other person's territory, then God would sort them out. Essentially, but the idea that they didn't see aggressive war in a medieval setting as the right thing to do is just an interesting take on it, because from what we know of medieval culture, war was quite normal, and to fight aggressive wars was something you did every other month. It's like a holiday.
Yeah, I can see that. Like, that is a very cool, very interesting cultural aspect to have to work with in this.
I like it, especially since we're being invaded.
So it's very much about, in that case, since it's a defensive war, it must therefore be ordained by insert deity or pantheon here, and therefore we will fight with righteous zeal to live up to the
defend our lands.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, does that include us heathens who have lived outside of civilization, near the storm?
That will be up to the individual priests, clerics, and popes of that religion, and there will be division. Whether or not you should be.
Yeah, absolutely. You said division, and that's one thing that I would like to see is a religion, a dominant religion that isn't cookie cutter. It isn't the same thing wherever you go. There are factions, there are various interpretations of the holy texts, whatever that may be. That's one thing I would very much like to see. Another thing I would like to do away with is the notion of women being...
Yeah, we don't want women. Just a world of men.
I very much do want women, because my point is I would like to do away with the notion that women are weak and women are inferior to men and whatever else the Christian buggers have conjured up throughout the centuries.
Let me wave my beat stick of lack of historical accuracy, because I don't know. I really don't know. But I have always kind of understood that the monotheistic institution we know as the Catholic Church is a primary the primary offender in why have women been culturally oppressed, to a point that we've only recently really started seeing them come into their part in society. I realize what that must sound like. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I hope you get what I'm saying.
A note on that, actually, Daniel, if I may.
Yeah?
Just quick, could we perhaps not do monotheism then?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe monotheism means one God, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, we have Yahweh here. Great. Yahweh is the great and powerful. Let's all pay homage to one guy. We might have a different religious idiom in which there have been no subjugation of women on a cultural level. Yep. That is probably going to be hard to convey, because I think a lot of the understandings we have of the world are based on our awareness of where people have historically been in society. But we can do our best to portray that as well as we're able.
I'm not sure I agree, because this is a fantasy setting, and in other fantasy settings, such as the Pathfinder setting, women are every bit the man's equal. Well, except physically.
Depending on culture.
Well, is some, but those are in Pathfinder very much the villainous cultures.
Accepting the lawful good Erasteel and his his stay and cook.
And the thing with that is that has since been retconned. It has been officially mentioned that was an error when that article was written about Erasteel.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, so I think we could definitely work with that. Let's try and let's work with a world in which we want gender equality to be accepted norm.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean there can't be societies or regions where some religious dogma dictates that the woman is the weaker sex or the man is the weaker sex or whatever.
Yeah, you could have like a minority cult or something where it's a thing. Or
maybe that's why the elves invading from beyond the valleys to the east or whatever is aside from the fact that they're invading and killing you, is also like culturally intrusive because they may be like extremely matriarchal.
Mm.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, they're if they also have a polytheistic religion, they won't have a king of the gods; they'll have a queen or that sort of thing.
Blasphemous.
I was thinking in the same vein because I'm probably making a gay character. How we feel about that? Because question. I actually don't mind, it being bad or anything. I don't mind that, but I wanted to hear your other guys' inputs.
So, Chris, you go first.
So yeah, I don't think it should be ingrained as sinful. I just think people look down on it as being impractical in a medieval society where you need as many children as possible to proliferate
like a waste
species. Yeah. So it's not seen as an absolute sin. It's just seen as being decadent, really,
or perhaps selfish.
Yeah.
So if you're a noble, you're supposed to get babies to take over once you die, and that is how it actually is for everything.
Mm.
And not doing that is like saying, well, someone else will have to take care of me when I get old, or something like that.
I'm imagining, personally, I think this is something that has been different from all parts of human society, right? Different lands within the human lands, different counties and different cultures within that spectrum will have had different opinions. Maybe different gods have different ideals, but they all belong to the same pantheon of worship. Or maybe maybe there's also difference of religion within the human lands themselves. And with the invasion then happening, maybe like a lot of people have been driven like to be refugees, further away from the direction of the attackers. And in doing so have kind of had a forceful introduction of rogue cultural elements and values into whatever was further away from the invaders. And now you have kind of like this cauldron of some people accept this, but some people really hate this. And now you have division within a world that needs to be unified to deal with the oncoming threat.
Mm-hmm. So the character I created for the test was basically a gay dude, and the idea at that point was that it was a matter of sin for him, and that was on a cultural level. And even if we do say that being gay or lesbian or whatever is accepted on a societal level, then we can still, as individuals, as our characters being individuals, we can still come up with various reasons why this or that is taboo.
Yeah, and I mean, if what we come up with is the fact that it's seen as incredibly selfish, for example, I mean, that's you could have killed her with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's work with that. I think a lot of these, sorry Rasmus, I'm just quickly going to finish this point. I think a lot of the issues relating specifically to like any given person on an individual level, such as what is my sexuality and how do people feel about that, I think we could do ourselves a favor in answering that as we're creating the characters. Because bringing up the point, is my character homosexual, during character creation would then prompt us to take a stance on this. I think what we have now is a good overall idea of what are we working with. As a world, we just need to flesh out some smaller details.
But I add something there, because as AJ and I apparently had quite the same idea, which is cool, that we would maybe make a Morrigan-type character where we come from a vastly different culture.
Yeah.
So perhaps the Outlands near the storm have quite a different culture. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I could definitely work with that. You could, yeah, absolutely. That would make all kinds of sense, actually. I mean, just
especially if it's where magic is the most prevalent. That might mean it's where religion is the least prevalent.
It might also. I'm imagining the area around the storm, like the cultures that have existed there, must be like very. I'm imagining them being very fringe culture, like very, very front. Not. I don't want to say frontier, because frontier implies that we're expanding in that direction, and I don't think that has been the case for many years. I think these are like horrible fringe countries and cultures that the reason they haven't been invaded is because it's primarily like horrible wetlands filled with evil monsters.
Yeah,
and where half the world, basically like half the world's bad bedtime stories are from the Outlands.
I would say that as an example of a long-lasting, it's not perfect, but of a long-lasting non-expansionist human population, look at the Chinese Empire. Their entire imperial policy was based upon the idea that we are the beacon of civilization and we don't want to introduce any of the other horrible barbarians, so we're not expanding, we're keeping what we have and making sure nobody else gets in.
That would work with the cultural ideal that war needs to be defensive as well.
Yeah.
And I think as far as the Outlands go, if that is a place where you literally take it day by day, because you don't know if you're dead tomorrow for whatever reason, because because of natural disasters or whatever, or it's just a dangerous place to live, then I think that would further or more a greater acceptance to things that such as homosexuality, in the sense that who cares about these strict religious doctrines and societal norms when you might die tomorrow anyway? Why not just live life the way you want to live it? I could see that being a thing in the Outlands.
And that could absolutely go on, Rasmus, you first.
I could also see that being a reason why they might be more culturally accepting of this icky weird magic. Because, pragmatism. Okay, we can, let's say, weather or monsters or whatever. Well, this can help a little bit. Then let's not shun it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're using everything they have to stay alive.
Yeah.
Yep.
The notion of invading horribleness, driving a cultural immigration, like a cultural, like culturally fitting a lot of people in a very small spot, combining that with the places they're immigrating to, and like humankind now being overly suffused with a mixture of religions and cultures living under the umbrella of one bigger culture that they kind of immigrated to seek safety. That being a combination of, as Chris said, like a Byzantium outlook and ancient China with just this huge bloated bureaucratic mess that then has to kind of defend itself from the incoming threat. I love that. I love that mental image a lot. Except it, of course, being set aesthetically in, as we established, like 1700s something. But the aristocracy basically being somewhat inspired by ancient War of the Three Kingdoms style Chinese dynasty and warlords and province holders, all of them just combining to this huge mess of a bureaucracy.
I think it sounds awesome.
Okay, so
especially the bureaucracy being in the way. I love that.
I assume you've been taking notes about all this, Daniel.
I have.
Well, that means we have a fairly solid setting for human settlement or human lands and the invading forces. I say the inventive voices. We don't have that clear an image of that, but we can come to that.
Maybe we should find a name for human lands.
Human
And
lands.
we could call the area near the storm for the Stormlands, because that sounds cool.
Mm-hmm. Because we are all of us, admittedly, those of us who've watched it, massive fans of Firefly, I am now obligated to insert the quote. Yes, this is a fertile land and we will thrive. We will rule over this land and we will call it this land.
Oh, I miss Firefly.
Who doesn't?
I assume people who've never seen it.
That's true. No, even secretly they miss it.
They don't know why, but they miss it.
All right, so
I have this emptiness inside me and I don't know why.
it's like I'm not complete as a human being. I don't understand.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we maybe look at doing some character stuff with the remaining?
Let's do it.
2 hours we've got, or whatever it is.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk character shop.
Absolutely.
All right. So and in so doing, we maybe get the chance to expand on the different cultures that have been suffused into this pie crust of horribleness, and we can also maybe start throwing out some names if we get that idea. So okay, so let's make a character. Let's all try and make characters at relatively the same pace. It's gonna be a bit tricksy because
I have to usually make them one at a time.
I have the book, and in me having the book and you not having the book, this is gonna be a bit slower than it would if we had, for example, an SRD. But
I don't mind taking them one at a time. Then you can listen in to what world building is being made.
I agree.
Who wants to go first in that case?
Well, I guess I do then.
All right.
Yes.
I don't remember anything.
No, that's fine. So, in a nutshell, you start out with an overall character concept, right? You start out with an idea. Typically, this idea is based in the world, which we now have. We have a world that you can base this idea in. And I'm assuming you would want to make an Outlander.
Yeah, I was thinking of writing Stormlander refugee. Would that be specific enough, or...?
Yeah, that works. I'm gonna bring up your character sheet here just because I can.
And of course, you know me, I totally want to do some magic stuff. I'll just put in parentheses, has magic knowledge.
Cool.
Just,
yeah. Then, of course, the next question, and this applies to everyone, is what do we want our maximum number of life paths to be? And what do we want our minimum life paths to be? And what do we want our recommended life paths to be? Do we want everyone to have the same number of life paths, or do we want a
Not
space
necessarily,
you can
in my
work
opinion.
I agree. The number of life paths doesn't have to be the exact same for every character.
How about we say 5 to 3, so you can either make an adept beginner character / starting to be a veteran character, or you could make a beginning to be a standard character. So you have that space to work in, but you can't go 2 life paths, so you have like a child, and you can't go 6 life paths, so you have a legend.
Damn you, now I totally want to make a child.
I mean, strictly speaking, you could make a child. That depends on when we want society to say you're an adult, right? But
society decides you're an adult when you reach 100 years of age. Unfortunately, no one lives that long.
I mean, I think we're going to work with some assumption about how the world works. I'm imagining a year being 365 days.
Yeah, that's easier, isn't it?
I'm imagining there being 24 hours to a day and so on. We might call the months something different just for fun. But generally speaking, I think that's easier for us.
Well, I mean, if AJ and I are going to have a shared background, I should probably confer with her as well. So do you have any input, AJ? For, age?
Age is not dependent on... I mean, it's relatively dependent on your number of life paths, right? The more life paths, eventually you will get old. But there are some life paths that take 15 years, and some that take 2. So...
Oh, that's fair. In that case, I'll probably...
Work from the assumption that that unless you want your characters to be twins or something like that, or being born at the same time, then you will have met at some point in your life, because you might wind up with different ages.
We could always just be siblings if we want to keep that.
Yeah. Anyway, so life paths 3 to 5. So you can pick whatever number of life paths you want from that. And I want to say our what's the word I'm looking for here? There's a specific word for your in number of dice. I forget what the Burning Wheel terminology for that is.
No clue.
It's your exponent, I think. Your exponent. That is the dice pool basically, but your exponent, max exponent of maximum of 7 for any given skill, I think.
I have no idea what that means.
That means basically you can't make a character with more than 7 sword, for example. You can't have a sword skill of 8 to begin with.
Okay.
And this is basically to contract the scope we're working in, right? We're working with characters who are within this scope. I believe this is recommended by the text of the book.
In any case, between 3 and 5, I totally want to be a power gamer and go with 5.
Cool.
I don't know if that's an actual power gamer, but it gives
not.
me more stuff.
Yeah, sure. So 5 life paths.
And does Born count as one?
Yeah, your Born life path is the first life path.
Alright. So what's that? What options do I have?
You have the options as a human of being born in a village.
Mm-hmm.
You could be born... let's start. You can be born into the peasant setting.
Mm-hmm.
You can be born into the villager setting. Mm-hmm. You can be born into the city setting.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can be born into the noble setting.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can be born into the servitude and captivity setting. Mm-hmm. Or the seafaring setting.
Mm-hmm.
And being from the Outlands, I don't think the Outland has cities.
No, I don't think so.
I think it's primarily a smattering of towns that look very wet and rotten. And some of them, some villages, quote unquote, of that place is probably like built on ruins from the area that was there before the storm.
Yeah.
I have an idea that they might just be settlements. You know, stuff that you can take and move when the storm gets too close in that area.
Oh, we could be nomadic.
Nomadic would work.
It makes more sense, right? If there's suddenly a lot of beasties around, then maybe we should take our house and leave.
Yeah. That makes every kind of sense, right? Because it may be that
it's a moving settlement. Kind of like you live in tribes or whatever you now have. You work with what you have, and that is why they're so different depending on what tribe they were with.
It absolutely makes sense, because you may have a situation where you live at this place, you live near the waterfall, and then for some reason a fucking basilisk shows up in the nearby forest, and, because this is not a Dungeons and Dragons setting, no party of adventurers are miraculously going to appear and murder it for experience and loot. So you may have to actually pull up your tent and go somewhere else.
So yeah, kind of like the Dalish, right? They move around after what works.
Which one would nomadic fit under them?
No, I would say nomadic. Nomadic. We can work with villager or peasant born as starter, or servitude would also work, because unless you want to say that there is no such thing as slavery or indentured servitude in the Outlands,
that wouldn't make sense.
All right,
in my opinion. I think villager. Then it's not it's not a village that stays there, but it's still kind of a village or
villager, as in big tribe.
Yes,
big place of. That them being nomadic doesn't mean that they have to move every week. It could be they move once every so and they move whenever the climate dictates, or whenever a local monster decides to change its feeding grounds. So it might be
whenever the seer tells them to.
Yeah, right. So. That sort of stuff. That works. So you could definitely be villager born.
Sure, I'll write that then.
Okay, Villager Born gives you... It takes 10 years. So time 10. Resources 4.
No leads?
No leads.
Alright.
And you don't have any stat bonuses. You have 3 general skill points.
Yeah.
And you have 2 traits. And you don't have any required traits or skills. So you don't have to go down and write any of those in yet.
Cool.
Alright, so from Villager, you can be, as your other life paths, within the Villager setting, you can be a kid, an idiot, a pilgrim, a conscript, a groom, a runner, a village peddler, a shopkeeper, a clerk, a sailor, a laborer, a miner, a taskmaster, a serving wench, a hosteler, a village guard, a village sergeant, corrupt sergeant, tailor, tax collector, cobbler, farrier, butcher, barber, brewer, acolyte, failed acolyte, village priest, venal priest, apprentice, journeyman, cloth dyer, bowyer, master craftsman, vintner, apiarist, mining engineer, town official, merchant, village or a village wife.
Alright, and I assume Acolyte would be the way to go for magic.
You might assume that. I don't actually know if that's the case, but I will have a look at Acolyte and tell you.
And I'm also assuming that most of these require me to take Kit first.
I don't think so. Kid is,
you don't have to be a kid.
Kid is if you want to have like a short period in your life where you were just worry free and so on.
Ha! No. Not in that setting.
Not out here.
Alright, so as an acolyte, you can jump directly into that.
What does that entail then?
Let's see. If you're an acolyte, that would take you 7 years. It would give you 10 resources plus 1 mental. You would have 6 skill points that you could use for doctrine, bureaucracy, write, read, ritual, religious history, and temple wise. And you would have to take doctrine. You would have the traits, access to the traits tonsured, early riser, broken, and perfect pitch. And you would have to take tonsured.
And you still didn't tell me, what Acolyte is.
What do you mean? I mean, Acolyte can be what you want it to be. Acolyte is an apprentice within a religious setting.
Okay, because there was also a princess. And
apprentice is
something relating to magic, so that's kind of the idea. That's where I want to go. That's probably.
Yeah. Apprentice is not relating to magic. I think apprentice is crafting.
I assume.
Yeah.
Well, which one is relating to magic? Or
there's none in this setting that relates to magic.
How do I get magic then?
You would eventually immigrate from this horrible muck-filled society of no wizardry to a place that had it, which would mean either attend into the village, the city dweller setting, or you would go into. I don't know if you could get into the outcast setting. There are some life paths that have magic that you could move into.
It's more because for our setting, it doesn't make sense to move into the city to learn magic when magic is most prevalent outside of the city.
I think magic is not necessarily prevalent in the Outlands. It's just that people move through the Outlands to get they come from the storm and then they've moved south with their magic. I don't think they stay in the muck-filled area. I think this is the birthplace of all things bad, and all things bad travel in the way of civilization.
Oh, because, that kind of conflicts with the thing we said, that we wanted to be like a Morrigan kind of character, which is basically an Outlands mage.
That could absolutely work, but Morrigan is not Morrigan because she lives in a swamp away from everything, right? Morrigan is weird because she approaches civilization.
That's true, but, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. So, let's see, we can't, I don't think there's a magic option in the villager settings.
You said Outcast maybe happened?
You might be able to get into Outcast, yeah, let's have a look at that. I'm looking for gifted. I'm just looking for all instances of the gifted trait.
That's the one that gives you magic, or...
Yeah, that's the one that allows you to use magic.
I want to be gifted.
Don't we all, Sunshine?
I hate Sunshine. I come from the storm.
It's a figure of speech, love.
I hate love. I come from the storm.
Cheer me, old geezer.
I'm not old. I would have died. I come from the storm.
All right, so
I sense a pattern here.
Yep. All right, so there's one thing I can see here that could work.
Mm-hmm.
You can get gifted by being a crazy witch.
Okay.
But that would require you to either be a weather witch, a young lady, an augur, or a midwife. Now, some of these I know to be in the peasant or villager setting. The peasant setting has augur as an option.
Let's see, that's a fortune teller, right?
I think so, yeah. Where do we find weather witch? I think weather witch would be seabound. I'm not sure. And a young lady would be nobility, and midwife is probably also in the peasant or something to that effect. Let's see.
Because the place being as it is, a weather witch might actually make sense. Or an augur. Fortune teller is probably the one that makes most sense. So perhaps we should change it from villager to peasant then, in order to make it work.
Yeah, if you go peasant, you could go born peasant. Then you could go into midwife, but midwife has the requirement of being any female gender-specific life path, like lady, or farmer or itinerant priest. So right. You could go born peasant, farmer, midwife, crazy witch, and then something else.
What happened to augur?
Augur you can do too. Augur would require you to be either a midwife, a country wife, or must be female and the character has no more than 3 life paths total.
What's with this thing telling me to be female? Why can only women make magic?
Well, no, that's not the case. Everyone can be gifted, but the path we're taking right now would require you to be that, because the game has, some genders can do some stuff.
So this is a case of the book not covering something that works with our specific setting.
Yes, that is the case. And we will.
And it's probably too difficult to ask you to make something, isn't it?
It probably is. Yeah, we want to have a culture in which genders are accepted as equal, but there are some things that women do and some things that men do. Simply because
midwives are usually females because it's a woman giving birth.
Yeah, it's not a matter of you have to be a midwife because you are a woman. It's a matter of privacy, right? You can relate to this because you too have a vagina and might give birth.
Were there any other instances of the gifted trait outside of Crazy Witch?
Yes, but not in the outcast setting. Then you have to look into to be gifted, you have to look at something in the city-born setting, the noble setting, or I think maybe there is one in the peasant. I'm just going to quickly check.
See, that would be easier.
This is one of the more tricksy character creations, because we're looking for specific traits in order to accommodate your concept.
Yes.
So we have one here. You could be a recluse wizard.
Okay.
And in order to, that is within the peasant setting, but to be that, you need to have a previous life path that contains the sorcery skill.
And I need to be, I guess, a crazy witch or something like that to get that?
No, there's a lot of life path that contains the sorcery skill. Let's just have a look. See if there's any in... I don't imagine there is one in the peasant setting, but let's just look.
Could we say or that he is noble because he's the son of the tribe leader?
You could absolutely be a noble in the Outlands.
Oh, that would make sense then, perhaps.
It would mean something entirely different, but you could absolutely be a noble from the Outlands. Or I have the Outlands on my mind. I think you wanted to call it the Stormlands.
I mean, that's just a name, right?
Yeah. But I like the Outlands because it makes it sound bad. But if you wanted to, you could go with Nobleborn. That means basically you're in whatever, either you're like from some kind of governorial place in the Outlands that has like a smidgen of civilization, or you are from local nobility, which would make you
like the chieftains.
To the rest of the world, you'd be like someone who was born to an important person in like far eastern Poland, coming to the court of Charlemagne.
I mean, I can make that work. I'll change it to nobleborn then.
All right. Nobleborn would mean that take 8 years. You have 15 resources.
Oh, that's a lot.
You have 5 general skill points.
Mm-hmm.
And you have 1 trait, but your first trait must be Mark of Privilege. So we scroll down until we get down to traits.
Mark of... that's spelling.
Yeah.
Privilege.
Yeah.
And that's required, and it's a life path.
Yeah.
And I write 1 in the cost?
You can do that now, yeah.
Good.
Then, aside from that, you also write the following traits. You write your lordship, your eminence, and your grace as 3 traits you can buy for traits during your character creation.
And that's depending on how up in the hierarchy I am.
Yes. I don't think... I mean, we can make this work, but in my mind, your eminence and your grace doesn't really work from the Outlands.
Could you... The thing is, I don't even think your lordship works for the Outlands. But it's not a required one, right?
No, none of these are required. You may take them. It might be that you get them at some later point in life.
Oh, that's fair.
So this could work. So okay, so you're born there. We have so far. So what you could then become is you could become an arcane devotee.
Oh, yes, that sounds fun.
That would take you 6 years.
And I can go directly into that?
Yeah, you can head directly there, I think. Let's just make sure that's the case. Yes, that's the case.
And that just means I'm like, oh my god, magic's fun, or what?
It would mean that you probably... I mean, what do you want it to mean in the Outlands? In my mind, it's something to the effect of you were sent to study with one of the seers. Like, one of the blind seers, maybe that's a thing.
Oh, that sounds cool, let's do that.
And he was taught himself by his master, who was taught by one of the storm people, one of the people from within the storm who wandered through at one point and settled down. It was back when your village was in an entirely different place.
That sounds cool. I'll totally go with Arcane Devotee then.
Okay.
And that was 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years, 10 resources. You get 1 mental.
I'm mental!
We know.
Yeah, what else do you get?
This is truth. You get 6 skill points and the following skills.
No traits, no general.
The following skills.
Yes,
you get 2 trait points.
It's just easier to just write them down first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, skills.
Your skills are calligraphy, which you must take.
Sure.
Right. Then you get
sense.
write.
Write as in I can write?
Yeah. And you get read, as in you can read.
And those are 2 separate ones, right?
Yep. And then you have research.
Mm-hmm.
And you have symbology.
Ooh.
And that's what you get from this one. And then you have the access to the traits base humility and gifted.
Ooh, I like that one.
Yeah, so you must take base humility, but you can choose to take gifted.
What is base humility?
Base humility as a trait does the following. I will quickly address what. That's actually let's go over what your traits do. I think at the end of character creation, because then I could just go back and forth in the
that's fine. I'll just write required and cost 1 at that one.
Absolutely. All right, so that's 2 life paths down. Now you can go wherever you want to. Do you want to continue chasing your sorceress endeavors?
Yes.
Let's see what would be good for doing that. You could go wherever you want from the noble setting, basically. So you could go into. Do we have any? You could go into sorcerer.
That sounds good.
That's a city setting. So maybe to improve your sorcerer skills, you ventured a bit a ways away from the horrible muck of the Outlands and closer to civilized realms where you can have books without them falling apart from damp.
Yeah, that sounds cool. I imagine it's still probably a pretty shitty city, but
it probably is. It's probably the gateway to awfulness, and in that city, you might have been you might have found what you needed to become a sorcerer.
And sorcery, is that like wizardry in Pathfinder, or is it like sorcery in Pathfinder? Or is it whatever we want it to be?
Well, it's you learn spells, you buy spells. But it's not like you crib them off a book. Your character learns a spell and then you can cast it, if you manage a roll by which you try to cast it.
Okay.
So you can learn spells as you play, but you learn them and then you have them.
Sure. And that was sorcerer. Were there any other magic options, or is that just the easiest one?
That is the one that's on the same page. So that's the one where I don't have to look. You also have the option of you could go Recluse Wizard, I think was the one where you had to have the gifted trait or access to the sorcery skill.
I don't have access to the sorcery skill yet.
No.
Probably should go into sorcerer then.
Let's see. Yeah, you must have had a previous life path that contained the sorcery skill. Okay, so that you need to have sorcery to go into that one. Could you go Crazy Witch if you wanted to? Let's see if you can. Crazy Witch would require you to have been a weather witch and a young lady and or a midwife, so no. You could be could you be a rogue wizard? Yeah, you could be a rogue wizard if you wanted to.
And what does that give me? Does it require sorcery, or does it give me sorcery?
It gives you sorcery. It requires that you be either a cultist, an augur, a neophyte sorcerer, or an arcane devotee.
Well, I am.
Alright. And in being a rogue wizards are outcasts.
Mm-hmm.
But you gain a lot of skills, and you gain 3 trait points, one of which must be used to be spooky.
Yay! Spooky!
Let's see, I've used 2 life paths out of a maximum of 5. I could go for sorcerer and then rogue wizard.
Yeah, you could absolutely do that, yeah.
I think I'll do that then.
Outcast is pretty good with what we'll end up with anyway.
Probably, yeah.
Alright, so you go sorcerer. Sorcerer is, you have 1 lead from arcane devotee in that case.
And I write that on leads for sorcerer?
You know, you write that on leads from arcane devotee.
So 1.
Yeah. And that basically because it takes you 1 year to transition from this life to your new life in a different setting.
That's fair. And how long does sorcerer take?
Sorcerer takes 6 years.
Okay, I'm getting old.
You get 32 resource points.
Holy shit. Yeah?
You get your choice of... No, wait, that's not choice. That's both. You get a +1 mental and +1 physical.
Cool.
And you get 6 skill points.
Mm-hmm.
One of which must be used on sorcery. And you get 2. You get 1 trait point.
And 1 trait point?
Yeah.
Alright, let's see, sorcery, where do I click that?
You write sorcery down in the skills, and then you click required.
Oh, I have done that then.
That's fine, because then, when we're done with this, you just click open on the ones that you want to open, and that expends a skill point.
Alright, cool.
Then you also get access to enchanting and calligraphy. Now, you already have calligraphy, so you just get access to enchanting.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking that we could go through all of Rasmus's character creation, and it will probably take us most of the rest of the session we've got tonight.
It might be
roughly halfway, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we're a good way. Some of this you can you can figure out yourself. Some of it we'll have to talk about.
If you could stick the original Born choices in the chat, I can extrapolate from there and start making some ideas.
Yeah, sure. I'll just quickly type in the settings, I guess.
Thank you.
If it helps, I'm planning on taking 1 or 2 rogue wizards for the last 1 or 2 life paths, depending on how many I want.
Okay.
Tap, 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 tap. Well, being siblings, we probably start the same way.
Yeah. Probably. Most likely.
Gosh.
Do I have to call you princess then?
No. I think he will be very, very, very unhappy.
So after sorcerer, where did you want to go?
Rogue wizard.
Okay, rogue wizard is you have a 1 lead from sorcerer then, because you're changing from city dwelling to outcast. So something made you an outcast from being a sorcerer in the city, learning your craft. Then you fucked up, and now society shuns you.
Maybe they found out where he was from.
Maybe they found out that maybe it's the war happened, and that made you that forced you to move closer to civilization. But in doing so, you found that you weren't accepted.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Okay, so rogue wizard takes 6 years. You get 24 resource points.
Mm-hmm.
You get +1 physical and mental.
Mm-hmm.
You have 8 skill points.
Cool.
And you have 3 trait points.
Cool.
And you get the following skills. You get sorcery, which you have, so never mind that.
Mm-hmm.
You get inconspicuous, which then becomes your required.
How do you spell that?
inconspicuous.
Alright, thank you. And that was required?
Yep. Then you have graveyard wise.
Ooh.
Which is graveyard - wise.
Oh, I want ugly truth for being a dwarf. I love that skill.
Then you have astrology. That was astrology, not astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
This is the real science. No, wait. Then you have bloodletting.
Cool.
You have access to ugly truth.
Yay! Best skill.
Mm-hmm. You have access to apocalypse wise.
That sounds fun.
It's the end of the world as we know it. Then you have enchanting, which you already have, and alchemy.
Cool.
And in your traits, you write spooky, which is required.
Spooky.
And you get access to the aura of fear trait and the obscure aura trait.
Yay! This is so much in depth with what they're supposed to be like for everyone outside.
Alright, so now you have 4 life paths. Do you want a 5th?
Since I'm already 28 years old, it's either Rogue Wizard again or no more. Let's see, that would make me... I'll go with Rogue Wizard again.
Alright, so you go with
Rogue Wizard. You can do that,
right? Yeah, you can do that. When you double down on a life path, then there is some things to consider. That is... Just quickly find the reference to it in the book. Repeating life paths, the law of diminishing returns. The second time you take a life path, time, resources, stats, and skill points are earned as normal. Okay. So, basically, Rogue Wizard, you have the same time, you have the same resources, you get the same stat bonuses.
Fine.
You get the same skill points.
But not traits?
Yeah, you do get the same traits.
Cool.
Okay. But now your second skill is required. So for Rogue Wizard, that would mean that it's not your sorcery because that's already taken, and it's not your inconspicuous because that's already taken. So it's graveyard wise is now required for you.
Cool.
And your second trait is also required. So you must take Aura of Fear.
Does that exclude me from taking Obscure Aura?
I don't think so, no. So yeah, that's it. This is your life paths done and dusted.
Woo.
Now what we want to do for the next thing is, actually, I don't want to leave you hanging here, but I think maybe this is your life paths done. Mm-hmm. Maybe we you guys figure we go and do the other characters then, and then we flesh out the details of post life path stuff between sessions.
Yeah.
Would that work for everyone?
I think that would work for me.
What? Sorry, what?
That we figure out the life paths, and then off cam we flesh out like where does the points go. And then we introduce where do you put your stat points, where do you put your skill points, and what do you buy? Like we flesh that out after the session and before next session, and then at the beginning of next session we introduce the characters with where have we put our stats and what have we bought and so on.
All right,
because then that would mean we get to.
Actually think about what we could do with it.
Yeah, and we can talk life paths now without spending too much time. Hi, Heine, I just want to quickly repeat what I just suggested, and that is, I help you through your life paths, and then I go to the next guy, help you through your life paths, and so on, and then off-cam, I help you flesh out your stats and where you put your skill points and what you buy for your resources and so on, and then we introduce that at the beginning of the first session.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Or, if we stand here in 5 minutes and everything is done, we can keep working from there. But the point is that this way we can help you through your life path choices.
Sure.
Okay. So I'll leave it there for Rasmus for now. Who wants to go now that Rasmus is done?
I'll go next.
All right. So, Chris.
Starting from Cityborn.
You want to be Cityborn. Who's your character? What's your concept? Do you have an idea?
What's the one I'm looking for? Advantage taking mercurial libertine, to use lots of big words.
Indeed.
And in the mortal tongue?
In the mortal tongue.
I'm just playing with you. That's quite perfect. Okay.
Okay.
So you want to start out as Cityborn.
Yeah.
That would mean your character, you can write your concept in the character sheet, right at the top of the character burner. Do you know how many life paths you want this character to be?
I'd say 4.
All right, 4. And your stock is human?
Yes, give me a second.
I'm not disallowing non-human stock, but prepare to get completely racism on. Like, just horribly.
Oh my god, you're one of those invading type. Go away.
That is exactly what's gonna happen. That is going to be daggers in the dark all day, every day. Okay, so Cityborn means that takes you 12 years, and you have 10 resource points.
12 years?
Yeah.
12, 10.
And you have 4 general skills.
4 gen.
And 1 trait.
Okay.
Wonderful. And from here you can do anything in the city, or you could jump to the servitude setting, the court setting, the noble setting, or the outcast setting.
Let's say. Yeah, let's go for as horrible as possible. Let's go for the outcast setting shift.
So he was born and immediately got cast out. He was on his naming day. It was his 12th birthday. He was like, everything is wonderful, and then suddenly horribleness.
Yeah, why not?
Then an omen happened, and the sun shone weirdly on him, and he was kicked out.
So, from the outcasting, what you can take from this base is you can be an apostate, a blackmailer, a kidnapper, a pillager, a vagrant, a cripple, a poacher, a deranged, an outlaw, a gravedigger. I skipped shopkeep, a fence, because that requires you to be a shopkeep. So I'm just skipping those that have requirements. A rat catcher, a beggar, a leper, a prostitute, a whoremonger. No, wait, not whoremonger. You can't be that. That requires another background. An itinerant performer, an insurrectionist, a cultist, a poisoner, a thug, a desperate killer, a bandit, a pirate, a smuggler, or... Nope, that's it.
Just taking note of some of the other options. What's the difference between an outlaw and a bandit?
The outlaw is the setting, the category in which all of these life paths are.
Yeah.
And then I see. So there's an outlaw, and then there's a bandit. So the outlaw has authority-wise inconspicuous, conspicuous, and inconspicuous and conspicuous. So this is basically not related to being. You're not resorting to banditry. You're not robbing people by being an outlaw, right? You're just on the run from the law for insert reason.
All right. Okay.
For a bandit, you get appropriate weapons, intimidation, stealthy, and caravan-wise.
Okay. I'm gonna say smuggler.
Right, you became a smuggler. That took 4 years, and also you can add 1 lead from the city-born life path.
So 4-1.
Because you got thrown out of the city, and then you had to remove that 1 from smuggler to city-born.
Where?
Just take the 1 from lead and just move up.
Okay.
There we go, and then you get 15 resource points.
Jesus.
It pays to be bad.
Yes, that's basically what I'm aiming for with this one.
Then you get 1 mental.
1 mental. He is mental.
Yes. And
there you
get 6 skill points and 2 trait points. And you gain access to skills and traits.
So is it in skill or gen I put the...
These are skill points. These are not general skill points.
So how many was it again?
6 skill points and 2 traits.
Okay.
And the skills you get, we scroll down to skills now.
5 skill.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And you get persuasion, which is required. So you write persuasion and you wing off the rec box. Then you get falsehood. You get appraisal. You get law-wise.
How do I spell that one?
LAW-wise.
I just wondered if there was an apostrophe or not. No apostrophe, a hyphen. Okay.
Forgery.
Many skills.
Stealthy. And inconspicuous. These are skills you have access to. Only persuasion is required. Then you have you get 2 trait points, and you must use one of them. So we scroll down to traits. Mm-hmm. You must use your one of those trait points to be paranoid.
Paranoid. Wreck.
Right. Paranoid is a skill?
No, paranoid is a trait.
Makes sense. It's a trait, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a feature of your character. All right. So you're a smuggler. You are a 17-year-old smuggler. And then what happened? From smuggler, you can enter the soldier life path, the city dweller life path, or the villager life path, or you can stay in the outcast category. I'm sorry, soldier and city dweller and villager are not life paths; they are settings.
Village.
All right, so
let's go a hopping.
Right, you went to a village somewhere,